So in this video, I'm going to take you through the start of the stacked cushion pattern. And this is because you are almost creating a circle that you then turn into a square in that first round. Now, this pattern is taken from our summer edition of TOFT Quarterly Magazine. And this issue has been built and inspired around tiles and the idea of tiles. So the colourway that I've crocheted here is Lisbon, which combines our cream teal, sapphire and yellow. This is the same square worked in all 4 different colourways that we've used in the magazine. So we were inspired by different cities. So this is Paris in cream, orange, camel and teal. Rome is cocoa, cream, fudge and orange. And then Amsterdam is cream, sapphire, silver and steel in that one. So that's the 4 different colorways, so you had a good look at them. But what I really want to go through is the first bit of the pattern with you when you're starting. Now, to make sure that you can see the stitches nice and clearly, just excuse me while I get back to the correct place for me to read this pattern. To help you see the stitches nice and clearly, I'm actually going to use an Aran weight of yarn. And obviously with this square, you could scale it right up using Aran if you wanted to, but it should just make it a little bit easier for you to see what I'm doing with my stitches. So when you set off, we're going to be making the center. So you tie a slip knot in the same way as normal, and then you begin with 4 stitches into a ring. So chain 2, as we normally do, and then double crochet 4 stitches into this first chain. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now at this point, anything that you know about making Ed's animals or any of my amigurumi style patterns goes out of the window. We're not doing that. We are making a flat tile using different stitches, and so what we need to do is make it a bit more symmetrical rather than working in a spiral. So what you need to do is you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You actually then slip stitch to join it like that. So you go into that 4th stitch and slip stitch. So you've got a really small circle with 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches on it. So then you're going to chain 2, so 1 and 2, and then treble 2 into the next stitch. And just to make sure that you know where you're at, it's not that one that's just tucked underneath the chain that you've just done. It is that, if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, that's your chain 2. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. It's that stitch there that you're going to be trebling 2 into. So wrap around the hook and do 1 and then 2 in there. Then you're going to treble 3 into the next stitch 3 times over. So that's our next stitch along. We're not doing a chain in between. So anyone that's ever made a granny square before might think that you want to do a chain in between. We're not going to on this particular design. So 1, 2, 3 into that one, then on to the next one. 1, 2, 3 into that down, and then on to your final one. 1, 2 and 3 into that one, and then you slip stitch to the top of your chain to join it. And you see your chain there is going to act like 1 treble, because what you've done is you've done 3 there, you've got 3 there in a cluster, you've got 3 there, and then you've got your first 2 and the chain, and that's going to act like a treble. So put your hook in the top of the chain like that and slip stitch to complete it as a circle. So this is the bit where we're starting with a circle and we're going to be turning it into a square on this next round. And that's where we're actually going to be doing colour changing and using 2 colours. Now I'm going to use pink in contrast, a pink Aran in contrast to the silver here. So chain 2 and then treble 2 sapphire. And the thing to note is the fact that it doesn't say into the next stitch. It says treble 2 sapphire. So I'm using silver in this instance. So what you're going to do there is treble 2. That means you go 1 into that one, and then 1 into the next one. And in this second treble 2, what you need to do is actually change your colour. So that's when you're going to swap off to your new colour, ready to do the next bit of instruction. And this is the bit that can be a bit trickier, because rather than working into the top stitches, we're actually going to be working down here in between the stitches of the previous round. So we're actually going to treble 6 in that hole there in between. So I'm just going to show you that again. I'm going to pull backwards so that you can see that nice and clearly. So that's where we finished off that previous round, and then we chained 2 stitches. Then we're going to treble 2. So round your hook and do 1 into that stitch and then 1 into the next stitch. So that's when you're going into the top of the stitches of the previous round. Then remember to change colour to your next colour along for this next one. And then we're going to treble 6 into the gap that is there. So you're not doing it into your next stitch along, you're going to be working it into that gap. So round and 6 in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Remembering that in that 6th one, what you're going to have to do again is swap back to your cream, or your original colour, to be able to do 3 trebles in that. So you'd swap back on the last stitch of your 6, and that's what creates the corner. This is us turning it into a square. Then you're going to need to treble 3 into the next 3 stitches. So go round, 1, 2, and 3, remembering to swap back to this colour again. And then we're diving back in between the stitches. So round, and we're going to be going in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and remembering to swap back to the other colour. So that's finishing off the 6th one. Then we're on trebling 3 again. 1, 2. Remembering to swap back to your other colour. Ready to do your 6 into the hole again. So when it comes to finishing that piece, you slip stitch into the top of your chain again, and that will even it up. So you should have your 3 stitches in your cross, and then it's your second colour that forms your corners where you work those 6 trebles. So mine's got a few more gaps in it, as you can see. That's because I'm working up on that Aran scale. This is the double knit one here, which is how the cushion was originally intended. So you see what we've got there is it formed a square by working those 6 trebles into each of the corners. Now, when you move on to the next round of instruction, you're actually following a really similar pattern to what we've done. So everything you've learned in doing that will set you up to be able to follow the rest of the pattern. The most important thing to remember is that it is a combination of sometimes working the stitches and then working into the gap in between. So before you proceed to crochet, just slowly read. If it says treble 3, you'll be trebling 3, 1 into each of the next stitches. If it says into the gap, then it's into that corner between those 2 sets of 3 trebles, where you'll be creating the corners as you continue your square. It's a really attractive pattern. Doing that colour change, you will have a messier side on one side, which is why we've gone for it as a cushion, because it means that you don't have to worry about that in the same way that you would with a blanket. You can just leave that, attach your cushions together. 4 would make a lovely cushion, and you could obviously just square it off as a cushion like that, or go to the full 6 as we have done here to make it that elongated rectangle shape. I hope you really enjoy making these squares, and I hope you choose some really interesting colourways. Can't wait to see them.